So, who are we? Who is the Colorectal Cancer Association of Canada? For those of you who are not familiar with us, we are a national nonprofit comprised of volunteers, members, and management. We are led by a national board of directors, and we are counseled by an extensive expert medical advisory board who keep us abreast of the latest medical advances in the management of colorectal cancer. Here are the faces of the Colorectal Cancer Association of Canada. Those of us who have actually lived the journey, either as a patient or as a caregiver. We have Barry Stein, our president, who is a survivor of metastatic colorectal cancer, metastases to the lungs and the liver. And yes, dare I say it, he has been cured. I use the C word. I know! Here I am as a caregiver to my father, who was afflicted with the disease and succumbed to it very quickly. But that journey, ladies and gentlemen, served as the impetus for me dedicating my life to this cause 10 years ago. And here is the wonderful Frank Pittman from our Montreal office. There he is. He is a stage 2 colon cancer survivor, and he too has dedicated his life to this cause. And finally, Sonia Panu, who served as a caregiver to her dad who was afflicted with the disease and survived it nicely. I think one of the reasons, ladies and gentlemen, that we are so passionate about what we do is because we have lived the journey. Our mandate is trifold. We provide awareness and education of the disease. We support patients and their caregivers. And we advocate for primary and secondary prevention. We advocate for population-based screening programs. And most importantly, we advocate for equal and timely access to effective therapies to improve patient outcomes. We truly are dedicated to the improvement in the quality of life for patients. Now, for the purposes of this session this evening, I thought I might concentrate on support, patient support programs, because I thought they might be of interest to you. We provide patient support through a variety of different ways. We have a wonderful website that furnishes a wealth of information that patients can access in the privacy of their own homes. And when they do access that information, they can email us should they have a query or two. We have a toll-free line. They can call us at any time, and should they have a query about the disease trajectory, they can give us a call, and we are there to accept that call at any time. We have an awesome psychosocial support program that is headed up by Dr. Mary Jane Esplin, a psychosocial oncologist at the Princess Margaret Cancer Center, and who also happens to be the director of the D'Souza Institute in Toronto. It's a continuing education institute for nurses in oncology. When we can't handle a psychosocial query, we automatically forward it to Dr. Mary Jane Esplin, who will respond within minutes. She will then take the reply to that query and forward it either via email or phone to the patient or caregiver, or she'll actually meet with those patients or caregivers. She's absolutely extraordinary. But I thought I might take some time to talk to you a little bit about our Cancer Coach program and our information/support groups, which are very, very popular at the CCAC. Our National Cancer Coach program very much resembles the professional coaches that are utilized by U.S. advocacy groups and hospitals who are trained volunteers who help patients navigate the maze of information and options that are available to them. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in just a bit. And our monthly information support groups, our very unique monthly information support groups, have three components to them. The first of which is we furnish clinical research updates that talk about new therapies and old therapies across the continuum of colorectal cancer care to patients every month at that information/support group meeting. We also have a patient sharing component, and we host expert presentations. Let me talk a little bit about our National Cancer Coach program, and then I'll get into our information/support groups. Our National Cancer Coach program is a nationwide peer-to-peer support program. We have approximately 40 trained and certified volunteers who provide information, not advice, because none of us are medical practitioners, and psychosocial support across the continuum of colorectal cancer care. Once I triage a query that I receive either via the phone or email or sometimes even in person, my cancer coach will respond either via email, on the phone, or in person within a 24-hour period. And if requested, that cancer coach will actually journey with the patient or the caregiver as long or as little as is requested. In terms of the kind of information that's usually requested, not surprisingly, a lot of it has to do with treatments, therapies. We're not surprised. And cancer coaches will objectively help patients discover what is best for them. It is never a validation of the cancer coach's own cancer journey. Why do I say that? Because a number of my cancer coaches are actually former patients. Patients who must have a no evidence of disease status for at least 24 months. A number of them have been no evidence of disease for about 5 years, which is fantastic. Who else are my cancer coaches? They're healthcare workers like oncology nurses who see inherent value associated with this program and think it's just fantastic enough for them to be volunteering their services. Who else are cancer coaches? CCAC employees, such as myself and Frank Pittman. And finally, a friend or a family member of a colorectal cancer patient who wishes to give back because they see once again the inherent value of the program. My cancer coaches undergo a very intensive 3-day training and certification program delivered by members of my medical advisory board. And this is what they are trained in: treatments, biomarkers, and complementary therapies. Screening, primary and secondary prevention, psychosocial coping, communication, emotional support, and mindfulness-based stress reduction, genetics and hereditary syndromes, and the ever so important navigation of the healthcare system, and yes, much more, like ostomy, for example. And these are the types of inquiries that we receive. Most of them, not surprisingly, once again, are treatment-based. Therapies, side effects, ostomies, hereditary syndromes, and screening. And then the balance, here you are. We actually get international queries as well. Complementary therapies, second opinions, and yes, we deal with transfer of care, advocacy, psychosocial support, and patient navigation. And here we are in all our glory, all of our cancer coaches. Let's talk a little bit about our patient information and support groups. And there is a reason why we promote these informational support groups. There's a growing body of evidence that suggests people who belong to these informational support groups or have this social support are actually healthier than those who do not. And currently, in Canada, Over 2 million people belong to informational support groups. Over 2 million people. We have a very unique model, to my knowledge, when it comes to these informational support groups in Canada. And they basically have 3 basic components associated. The first, we provide monthly clinical research updates that are very user-friendly, with every treatment modality associated with the management of colorectal cancer, including, by the way, nutrition and healthy lifestyles. We have a patient sharing component, and we host expert presentations. In terms of membership, newly diagnosed to no evidence of disease. And all stage 1 to 4 patients are welcome with their caregivers. Initially, we had started the group to address the needs of stage 4 patients. Stage 3 patients started to find out about it, so we welcomed them. Then stage 2 patients started to find out about the group, so we welcomed them as well. But the point of the clinical research updates is to try to be as informative as possible. We are essentially a reporting service. And when patients are supplied with these clinical research updates, if there's a piece that they're particularly interested in, the hope is that a very thoughtful dialogue will ensue between patient and treating oncologist. That's the whole basis. The research updates are provided vis-a-vis hard copy and soft copy. At the actual meetings, every member will receive a hard copy, and then the support group facilitator will take a few pieces from that document and present a couple of pieces based on the demographics or the needs of the group. So if you've got a group that predominantly consists of, let's say, stage 3 patients, you're not necessarily going to be talking about therapies that are employed in the management of stage 4 colorectal cancer, and so on and so forth. The patients who are not able to show up at the meeting, for example, will be able to access those clinical research updates online because they are posted on our website every month. The second half of the meeting is then dedicated to a sharing. Each patient has an opportunity to sort of update where they're at in their journey. And this sharing component becomes very empowering. Gaining the benefit of everybody else's experience becomes extremely empowering, and most patients actually report feeling in control again. A control they feel they surrendered the moment they were delivered their diagnosis. And this is the reason why there isn't any commiserating going on at our support groups. In fact, it's quite the opposite. And I actually have a few patients here at the front table who belong personally to my support group. And please feel free to sort of ask them questions if you'd like, so that they can give you a semblance of what actually goes on at these information/support groups. It's actually it's actually quite liberating once you attend one of these informational support groups. And then finally, the third component. Oh, look who it is. It's 2 of the experts who are going to be addressing you here this evening, Dr. Paul Kara-Nicholas and Dr. Yuj Ko. We host expert presentations all the time so that patients can stay abreast of what's going on in the management of the disease. Dr. Kara-Nicholas and Dr. Ko have actually attended, just in the past couple of years, twice to talk about the hepatic artery infusional pump chemotherapy program, and it's been very, very helpful because we get to disseminate an awful lot of information in a very user-friendly language. Here are the benefits reported by patients in cancer information support groups. You get to learn more about the cancer. You feel like life is more meaningful, able to cope with the disease and the medical procedures. There's a better perspective on the illness. You're able to talk with your family and your friends about the cancer, and you're more aware of your needs, and most importantly, that feeling of empowerment. We truly believe that a well-supported patient is a well-coping patient, ladies and gentlemen. And the very last thing that I'd like to say is, without fail, I am constantly humbled when a patient or a caregiver affords us the opportunity, the privilege of allowing us to journey with them during what is likely the most vulnerable time in their life. It is my sincere hope that you will contact us and afford us the same privilege. Thank you for your attention this evening.